What's up, guys? NBA2K back, and today we're bringing you guys something slightly different from the other videos that I've done so far. We're doing a mock draft today. So, as you all know, the NBA draft is on tonight, and quite frankly, I'm pretty excited. So, I thought it would be interesting to see what 2K imagines the draft will look like versus what I personally predict the draft will look like. So, first things first, we're going to look at the draft from 2K's perspective. So I'm just going to simulate until the end of the draft, actually, and then we'll just take a look at all the picks, and I'll talk about them a little bit. So I'll see you guys there. So here at the end of the draft now, I did in fact put everything in order, so all the picks belong to the proper teams. So let's dive right in. So first overall, the Suns picked DeAndre Ayton, which I definitely think they're going to do. I think that's a great pick for them. The Kings end up taking Luka Doncic. Personally, I believe it's a toss-up between him and Marvin Bagley. They honestly could go either way. But here is where I think it gets a little absurd. The Hawks, according to 2K, are going to select Lonnie Walker the fourth. And personally, I think he's personally going to probably going to get drafted more between like 15 and 20, maybe in the late lottery. But I don't think the Hawks are going to take him at all. I definitely don't think he's a top 5 talent in the draft. But don't get me wrong, he's a good player for sure. He's very athletic. Um, Now the Grizzlies are going to select Marvin Bagley. I think this would happen if he ends up falling down this far, but you'll see in my personal mock draft where I believe he'll be going. And now at the fifth pick, they got the Mavericks taking Mikal Bridges, and he's good, but I don't see the Mavericks taking them. They don't really need a wing player. They obviously have Dennis Smith Jr. that they drafted last year, and Wesley Matthews is certainly serviceable. But where they're clearly lacking is in their front court. They're going to have Dirk Nowitzki retiring within the coming years, and their center has never really been that great since Tyson Chandler left. But I definitely see them drafting a big man with their pick. The sixth pick, Mohamed Bamba, I could definitely see that happening. I personally think he'll go a little higher, kind of hoping he drops down here to the Bulls. And you see that they selected Michael Porter Jr., I think is great as well. Right here, the Cavaliers selecting Colin Sexton. I think the only way that this potentially happens is if Michael Porter Jr. and Wendell Carter Jr. are already off the board. I think they have to anticipate that LeBron James is going to leave, and they need to get a replacement small forward ASAP. But now we see Miles Bridges going to the Knicks. That's somewhat decent. And then Kyrie Thomas from Creighton, I believe. Yeah, from Creighton. Going number 10 to the 76ers. I think the 76ers are somehow going to be able to find the steal of the draft. Personally, I think they're going to end up taking Mikal Bridges or Kevin Knox. I definitely think that would be a great fit for them because they've already commented on how he looked very good in their workouts. So that'll be interesting to see. Here, the Hornets taking Shake Milton. I just don't understand that. I understand drafting a point guard because they need to. They're probably going to trade Kemba since they just traded Dwight Howard, but I don't think Shake Milton is their guy. I mean, they're still, at least in this draft, there's still Shai Gilgeous. There's still even Trae Young hasn't gotten drafted. But we see Trae Young goes right after to the Clippers. If this is how it goes, that's a great pick for the Clippers, and they end up getting Wendell Carter Jr. That'd be solid for them. It gives them 2 players to build around. Yeah, that'd definitely be great. And then Melvin Frazier to the Nuggets. I think that's a great pick for them. They definitely need a small forward. They seem to be set at basically every position. They have Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, and then in their front court they have Paul Millsap and Nikola Jokic, but they definitely need another wing player out there. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Wizards here. I definitely don't think he's falling down this low. I think he's going top 5, definitely. If not, he'll go top 7 or 8. And then we see Zaire Smith from Texas Tech. He's been making moves for sure. He'll definitely be drafted pretty high. To the Suns, I think is pretty good. I don't understand unless they want. How tall is he? He's 6'5". Unless they intend to maybe play him at small ball 3, I don't really see that happening because I think Devin Booker is 6'6", so they could play him at small forward. And then Trayvon Duval, I don't think he's a first round pick at all. Shai Gilgeous, like I said before, he's definitely going to get drafted high. He's a 6'6" point guard with incredible defensive capabilities, so he will be drafted very high. I know the Cavaliers are looking at him with the 8th pick. Gary Trent Jr., I don't think he'll be drafted this high. I think he'll potentially be drafted in the 20s, late 20s, maybe early second round. Robert Williams is another really good player. I don't think he'll be drafted quite this low. I think maybe closer to the 15 ballpark. Kevin Knox is another player that's definitely going to get drafted higher. Utah picking him at power forward would be solid, I suppose. They could keep Derek Favors coming off the bench. And then Zanin Musa. This honestly is kind of irrelevant because he does have another year overseas. So that unless he can turn out to be a player like Bogdan Bogdanovic, who honestly played quite well for the Kings last year, I think he could potentially be a second-round pick. Jalen Brunson is another player who he's one of the older players in the draft, so I feel like he, even though he constantly was a great player for Villanova in his college career, I think he's definitely potentially going to be an early second-round pick, just because he stayed in college as long as he did. Javon Carter is another player. He was at West Virginia. Yeah. I'm not even going to try to say that. I don't think this guy's a first-round pick, though, because those overseas players are always tricky to distinguish. I just think he'll be a second-round pick. Bruce Brown is another player. I don't even think he's in the draft this year, unless it's Bruce Bowen. I'm not quite sure. Omar Yurtseven, he's probably going to be second-round pick as well. Amadou Diallo, definitely not a first-round pick. He's a great player, but he's not first-round pick caliber. And then Raymond Spalding, not even sure who this is. Power forward from Louisville. I've never heard of him. I haven't heard any teams inquiring about him, so pretty sure he won't be a first-round pick. And then Nick Richards. I don't believe he's actually in this draft class, but if he is, he's not a first-round pick at all. So that is 2K's perception of how the draft will go tonight. So now I'm going to go over into another file, and I'll show you guys the mock draft that I believe is going to happen tonight. Alright, so we're back now on the other file, and this is my personal prediction of the draft. So I think with the first overall pick, the Phoenix Suns are most definitely going to select DeAndre Ayton. This is because, you see, their center prior to this was Alex Len, and I guess he's decent, but he just doesn't have the upside that DeAndre Ayton does. And they probably could have gone with a point guard, but they still have Elfrid Payton, who's relatively young. And while he's not that great of an offensive player, he does have the potential to be quite the playmaker. So that would be good with Devin Booker, who's the sharpshooter, obviously. And then with the second overall pick, I predicted that the Sacramento Kings would select Marvin Bagley. Obviously, this is taking a year in advance, so they don't have Chris Bosh. But Marvin Bagley is definitely the type of player that can either run the 4 or the 5 for them. They do have Zach Randolph, but he's probably going to retire within the coming years. So I believe that for them selecting a power forward or any front court player for that matter is a good idea for them. Because they do have De'Aaron Fox, and they do have Buddy Hield in the backcourt, and then they also have Bogdan Bogdanovic, who seems to be playing quite well for them at small forward. So I think if they drafted anyone at any of those positions, it'd be kind of redundant. And then now for the third overall pick, I predicted that the Atlanta Hawks would select Luka Doncic. Obviously, they are set at power forward and small forward, I think, for the coming future. And then point guard, they're going to most likely trade Dennis Schroeder because he said on several occasions that he wants to play for a contender, and obviously the Hawks are not a contender at the moment. And then also, I believe that the Grizzlies are going to select Michael Porter Jr. Um, the reason I have Michael Porter Jr. going so high is is that because Jaren Jackson Jr. and Mohamed Bamba, two prospects that are quite possibly uh, in most mock drafts predicted to go higher than Porter, they actually did not agree to working out with the Grizzlies. So for that purpose and that purpose alone, I believe that the Grizzlies will most likely just select Michael Porter Jr. And then I believe that the Mavericks, with the fifth pick, would select Mohamed Bamba. I obviously believe that they need a front court piece, as I stated before with the 2K mock draft, but I believe that Mohamed Bamba would be a great fit for the Mavericks. And then with the sixth pick, I think that the Magic would take Jaren Jackson Jr. This is because obviously Aaron Gordon seems to be the small forward or power forward of the future for them, and Nick Vucevic is most likely on his way out. But they also have Jonathan Isaac, an up-and-coming 6'10 forward. So they really need either a backcourt player or a center, and Jaren Jackson fits one of those holes quite easily, I believe. And then with the seventh pick, I believe that the Bulls would select Trae Young. And while it may kind of seem odd to select a point guard because of Chris Dunn's breakout year, I think it makes sense because they do have Lauri Markkanen at power forward, and they're Chicago in and of itself is a relatively large market, so that leaves great desire for most free agents to want to come there. So I feel like they'll have no problem rebuilding quite rapidly. And I think having a good point guard who can shoot and can facilitate the ball is a good way to get that going. And it can also help with Lauri's development. And then with the eighth pick, I believe the Cavs would select Wendell Carter Jr. Now, I'm only going to go into depth for the first 10 picks, and I'll just show you guys who I selected for the last 20 within the first round. But I think that Wendell Carter Jr. would be an incredible fit for the Cavaliers because they obviously are in dire need of a center. And Wendell Carter Jr. is honestly just a good player all around. And the last time they really had a decent center was Tristan Thompson, but it was only for like one postseason. And prior to that, he did nothing. After that, he did nothing. And then you'd have to go all the way back to Zydrunas Ilgauskas, who was not even that great. He was pretty mediocre. And then with the ninth pick, I believe that the Knicks will, in fact, select Mikal Bridges. Most people think that they would select Miles Bridges, but I don't think Miles Bridges would go that high. I think Mikal Bridges is quite a good fit for them. He's 6'6", and they also have the 6'6" Tim Hardaway Jr. But I think that with Mikal Bridges' length, he does have like a 7'2" wingspan. They'd be able to play him at small forward quite easily, and that would allow them to move Tim Hardaway Jr. back to his original position of shooting guard. And also, they already have Frank Ntilikina, who they drafted last year with the 8th pick, rather. So I think that would allow them to have a great backcourt, and they'd have great wing players to go with Ntilikina. And then with the 10th pick, I think that the 76ers will select Kevin Knox. Let's see, where is he? Right here, he's a power forward from Kentucky, yeah. And I think that they will definitely select him because he fits the role that they need. They do need a power forward. Dario Saric is probably going to leave, in my opinion, next offseason. So I think having a power forward to replace him quickly would be great. I think Kevin Knox can learn so much from the veterans that they already have on the team, and I think that he would be great alongside Joel Embiid. And then going over to the 11th pick, I believe that the Hornets will select Colin Sexton. This is primarily because Kemba Walker is probably gone. And then with the 12th and 13th pick, I believe the Clippers will select Lonnie Walker IV and then Miles Bridges. And then the 14th pick, I think the Nuggets will select, Robert Williams, power forward from Texas A&M. And then with the 15th pick, the Wizards, I believe, will select Mitchell Robinson, the center from high school, actually, who took a year off from college to just prepare himself for the NBA. And then with the 16th pick, I think the Suns will select Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And then going on to the 17th pick, I believe the Bucks will select, I'm probably going to butcher this name, Keita Bates-Diop from Ohio State. And then with the 18th pick, I believe the Spurs will select Zaire Smith out of, I'm not sure where he went. He went to Texas Tech. And then with the 19th pick, I think that the Hawks will select Kevin Huerter, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it, but him. And then with the 20th pick, I believe the Timberwolves will select the small forward out of Boston College, Jerome Robinson. And then with the 21st pick, I think that the Jazz will select Troy Brown Jr. Right here, Troy Brown Jr. out of Oregon, I believe. Yeah. And then with the 22nd pick, this seems like a guarantee to me. I think the Bulls will select Chandler Hutchinson from Boise State. And then with the 23rd pick, I believe that the Pacers will select Aaron Holiday. Where is he? There he is. Aaron Holiday from UCLA. And then with the 24th pick, I believe that the Trailblazers will select Melvin Frazier. And then the 25th pick, I think that the Lakers will select the Euro-stashed player Zanin Musa. And then the 26th pick, back to the 76ers, I think they'll select Kyrie Thomas from Creighton. And then we got the 27th pick from the Celtics, and I think that they will select Josh Okogie. I don't know much about him, but there we go. The 28th pick goes to the Warriors, and I think they'll select Dante DiVincenzo out of Villanova. He's definitely increased his draft stock, and I think he'll go to. I think he'll go late first round for sure. And then the 29th pick goes to the Nets, and I think that they will elect to go to pick center. And they'll probably go with Mo Wagner, the center from Michigan. I actually just recently got the notification that the Nets intend to buy out Dwight Howard. So this even makes more sense because they want to have Jarrett Allen get minutes, but they also want to have a backup for the future, Mo Wagner, who can even potentially stretch the floor and put him at the power forward position. And then with the last pick in the first round, I believe that the Atlanta Hawks will select Grayson Allen, the player that no one likes from Duke. And yeah, that concludes my mock draft. Let me know what you think in the comments. And hopefully you guys are looking forward to the draft as much as I am. And hopefully I get some of these picks right. And I'll see you guys in the next video coming up tomorrow. Peace.